In this section we're going to look at Excel formulas. Now here we've got a little table of data, so we have part numbers down here, we have the value of each item, and we have the number in stock. So if I click here, as you can see this is cell E4, what I need to do is to take this number and multiply it by this number, and that will give you the total value of this particular part number, and we need to carry on down the rest of the table with the same sort of formula. Now formulas always start with an equals sign, so first of all you type in equals, and then you have to work out what are you going to multiply. Well, essentially it's this value here which is in C4, so you type in equals C4, then the star, which means times, and then we need the value in here which is D4, so I type in D4. So that's the formula we just typed in. Notice it's in here, and also if you need to edit it, it's up here as well. So let's just check this out. So this equals C4 times D4. Notice you can see the formula up here as well, so you can edit it up there later if you want to. So this is going to be C4, which is that value, times D4, which is this value. When you press the enter key, what you get is basically this value times this value. So that's one way of doing it. Let's look at an easier way. In here I need to basically enter the formula that will times this value by this one. So always remember, formulas start off with an equal sign. Now before I did the whole thing by hand, I had to figure out, okay, what's the reference here? So this will be C4, so I have to type in C4 times D5. So I can type them in, or an easy way is this. I've typed in the equals sign here, then I just click here and notice it takes the value there, C5. Then I can go and insert the star symbol, which means times, and then I can click on here, and when I press return we get that. So that was the value I typed in completely by hand. Here I kind of used a cheat method by clicking on things. I'll use the cheat method again just to show you. So I'll click here, so what I want is this value times this value. So always remember, start with an equal sign, then in this case I can click here and that will insert that number C6 there. Then I type in the time symbol or the star symbol, and then I just simply click here. So this means I don't have to work out visually what the numbers are. It just puts in equals C6 times D6, and when I press enter, in the numbers go. So if I click here, you can clearly see this value here is C4 times D4. The next one for the next row down is C5 times D5, and this one is C6 times D6. Now I could carry on down here, I could click on the next empty cell here and repeat the whole process, but here's an easier way. Let me delete these last two here. I'll select those, press delete. So if we click here, that has within that cell the formula equals C4 times D4. Now rather than having to type that in over and over and over again, which is a bit of a waste of time, what I can do is move the mouse pointer to this little symbol here, this little green square at the bottom right of the cell. So normally the pointer looks like that. If I move it to here, if I press the mouse button down and hold it down and drag down across these cells, then let go, look what it's done. I'll click on the last one here. It's automatically extended this formula down the range here. So what we've got in this last cell is equals C12 times D12. Here I've got equals C11 times D11, and so on and so forth as we go up the cells here. So that's the easy way of inserting formulas across a range. You click on the first one, so let me just quickly do that again. I'll go and delete these. So let's say we started off like that. I just simply go here, then I go to this little green square, press the mouse button down, drag across here, And there we go. There's our table with the correct formulas in each cell here. Now, to use the Excel jargon, there are different operators you can use. We've just seen how to use the multiply operator, but other common operators are things like plus, minus, divide and multiply. Those are the other ones you'd use most. So to do a plus operation within a formula, you'd use the plus symbol. Minus would be using the minus symbol. Divide, use the forward oblique arrow, the divide symbol. And as you just seen, multiply uses the star symbol. So if we just have a look at how you'd use these operators, let's say you wanted to do an addition. Always remember, formulas start with an equal sign. So let's say you wanted to add up 6 plus 9. You type in equals 6 plus 9. And when you press the return key, there's the answer. If you wanted to do a subtraction, again, always remember it starts with an equals. So let's say you wanted to do 9 minus 4. That's what you'd type in. Press enter and away you go. If you wanted to use division, you'd type in something like equals 21 divided by 3. Press enter and there you go. And then finally, of course, you've got multiplication. So again, that's equals, say, 3 times 9. Press return and away you go. So for addition, if we click it in this cell here, which is cell C3, that's what an addition formula would look like. Subtraction looks like this. Division looks like this. And multiplication looks like this. But in each case, always remember, it starts with an equal sign. Now here's the table that we completed earlier on. If I just click in this cell here, which is cell E4, as you can see, the value in here is basically the value in this cell here times this one here. And as we go down, you'll see the numbers change in as much that here we're talking about C4 times D4. The next one down is C5 times D5. And then as we go down all the way to the bottom one here, this is C12 times D12. So this is what's called relative referencing. What it means in effect is this equals the product of whatever's in the cell here times this one. This one equals the product of whatever's in this cell plus this one. If we look at this example, this is going to introduce a new concept, what's called absolute referencing. So if I click here in this cell D4, we want to work out the cost of delivery. Now we've got part numbers down here, we've got price excluding delivery there. Here we need to work out the delivery cost, and in this example here, the delivery cost will be basically whatever's in here times 5%. So that will give us the cost of delivery. Then finally over here we'll have the total cost including delivery, which will be the price excluding delivery times the cost of delivery. Sounds a bit complicated, but stick with it. So first off, we need to click within this cell D4, and I need to work out the cost of delivery. Now, as I say, the cost of delivery will be basically this number here in cell C4 times this number here, which is in C15. So let's type that in. So if we do equals, so remember this is cost of delivery, it's the price excluding delivery times the value in this cell here, which is 5%. If we press return, that gives us the correct figure there. So that's basically the number that is displayed is 5% of this number, the delivery cost. Now, do you remember before we just went to here and we dragged that down to fill in the rest of the data? Let's try that now. And you think, whoa, what's going on here? All the other values are apparently 0, so the only one that we're charging delivery for is this first one. So let's look at the first one again. What does it actually say? It says the cost of delivery equals the contents of C4, which is over here, times the contents of C15, which is there. So that one works. The rest of them didn't work when we went to here and dragged them down. So let's click here and see why not. We're basically saying the cost of delivery equals whatever's in C5. Well, okay, that's 10.95. But then what happens? Look, it says times C16 because relatively it's looking for a number in there and there isn't one. So let's go back and have a look again. This one's okay. It's basically that cell times that cell. This one here, the reason it's 0 is basically saying it's the product of this number plus the cell down there, which contains nothing. So what we need to do is go and fix this. So I'll drag across there and press the delete key. What I could do is I could type in this cell here. I could type in equals that times 5%, and that gives us the correct result. But again, if I drag down, it's all zeros for the rest of them, because if we go down to the next one, it's basically saying this is the product of this cell plus C16. Where's C16? Down here. So that is patently not going to work. So let me get rid of those. In fact, let's get rid of this one as well. So here we have to do something a little bit different. We have to use an absolute reference to this cell so that when we drag down here, this cell reference doesn't start moving down the page. So we type in equals, and then we type in the price excluding delivery. Then we type in the star, and this time instead of typing in the value of the percentage, which is in this cell, which is C15, what we do is $C $15, and when I press return I get the correct number there. This dollar symbol here basically says go to $C $15, which basically means that when I drag this down, it'll always point to this. It won't move down the page. And if I drag this down now by clicking and dragging, everything's fine. If we go and look at the bottom one here, what does that say? It says basically this is the product of this number, or this cell rather, which is C12, which is correct, times the absolute reference to C15, which is this cell here, C15. So you see the difference. We can use a little trick to help us here so we don't have to actually type in the dollar symbols. If I say equals this value, which is relative, times, and then I actually just click here to get C15, but we wanted that dollar. Remember, we wanted $C, $15. So a little keyboard shortcut to remember is press F4, and magically that turns this into an absolute reference. And if we go back here, you can see by pressing F4 when we selected this cell, that turned it into an absolute reference. So if I come down here now and drag down, everything is fine. Incidentally, just to complete this table, if we want to put the correct values in here, this is going to be the price excluding delivery plus the cost of delivery. So here you type in equals this plus this. So if we go and click on it, this is basically saying this value here is this number plus this number. And if I drag that down, there you go, it's all done.